The Gods of Pegana by Lord Dunsany. Read by Ashton Carter. In the mists before the beginning, fate and chance cast lots to decide whose the game should be, and he that won strode through the mists to Mana-Yud Sushai and said, "Now make gods for me, for I have won the cast, and the game is to be mine." Who it was that won the cast, and whether it was fate or whether chance that went through the mists before the beginning to Mana-Yud Sushai, none knoweth. Before there stood gods upon Olympus, had wrought and rested Mana-Yud Sushai. There are in Pangana Mung and Sish and Kib, and the maker of all small gods, who is Mana-Yud Sushai. Moreover, we have a faith in rune and slid. And it has been said of old that all things that have been were wrought by the small gods, excepting only Mana-Yud Sushai, who made the gods, and hath therefore rested. And none may pray to Mana-Yud Sushai, but only to the gods whom he hath made. But at the last will Mana-Yud Sushai forget to rest, and will make again new gods and other worlds, and will destroy the gods whom he hath made. And the gods and the worlds shall depart, and there shall be only Mana-Yud Sushai. Of Skal the drummer. When Mana-Yud Sushai had made the gods and Skal, Skal made a drum, and began to beat upon it, that he might drum for ever. Then, because he was weary after the making of the gods, and because of the drumming of Skal, did Mana-Yud Sushai grow drowsy and fall asleep. And there fell a hush upon the gods when they saw that Mana rested, and there was a silence on Pangana, save for the drumming of Skal. Skal sitteth upon the mist before the feet of Mana-Yud Sushai, above the gods of Pegana, and there he beateth his drum. Some say that the worlds and the suns are but the echoes of the drumming of Skal, and others say that they be dreams that arise in the mind of Mana because of the drumming of Skal, as one may dream whose rest is troubled by sound of song. But none knoweth, for who hath heard the voice of Mana-Yud Sushai, or who hath seen his drummer? Whether the season be winter, or whether it be summer, whether it be morning among the worlds, or whether it be night, Skal still beateth his drum, for the purpose of the gods are not yet fulfilled. Sometimes the arm of Skal grows weary, but still he beateth his drum, and the gods may do the work of the gods, and the worlds go on. For if he cease for an instant, then Mana-Yud Sushai will start awake, and there will be the worlds nor gods no more. But when at last the arm of Skal shall cease to beat his drum, silence shall settle and startle Pangana like thunder in a cave, and Mana-Yud Sushai shall cease to rest. Then shall Skal put his drum upon his back and walk forth into the void beyond the worlds, because it is the end, and the work of Skal is over. There may arise some other god whom Skal may serve, or it may be that he shall perish. But to Skal it shall matter not, for he shall have done the work of Skal. Of the making of the worlds. When Mana-Yud Sushai had made the gods, there were only the gods, and they sat in the middle of time, for there was as much time before them as behind them, which having no end, had neither a beginning. And Pegana was without heat or light or sound, save for the drumming of Skarl. Moreover, Pegana was the middle of all, for there was below Pegana what there was above it, and there lay before it that which lay beyond. Then said the gods, making the signs of the gods and speaking with their hands, lest the silence of Pegana should blush. Then said the gods to one another, speaking with their hands, let us make worlds to amuse ourselves while Mana rests. Let us make worlds and life and death and colours in the sky. Only let us not break the silence upon Pegana. Then, raising their hands, each god according to his sign, they made the worlds and the suns, and put a light in the houses of the sky. Then said the gods, let us make one to seek and never find out concerning the wherefore of the making of the gods. And they made, by the lifting of their hands, each god according to his sign, the bright one, with the flaring tail, to seek from the end of the worlds to the end of them again, to return again after 100 years. Man, when thou seest the comet, know that another seeketh beside thee, nor ever findeth out. Then said the gods, still speaking with their hands, let there now be a watcher to regard. And they made the moon, with his face wrinkled with many mountains, and worn with 1,000 valleys, to regard with pale eyes the games of the small gods, and to watch throughout the resting time of Mana Yud Sushai, to watch, to regard all things, and be silent. Then said the gods, let us make one to rest, one not to move among the moving, one not to seek like the comet, nor to go round like the worlds, to rest whilst Mana rests. And they made the star of the abiding, and set it in the north. Man, when thou seest the star of the abiding to the north, know that one resteth, as doth Mana Yud Sushai, and know that somewhere among the worlds is rest. Lastly the gods said, we have made worlds and suns, and one to seek and another to regard. Let us now make one to wonder. And they made earth to wonder, each god by the uplifting of his hands, according to his sign. And earth was. Of the game of the gods. 1,000,000 years passed over the first game of the gods, and Mana Yud Sushai still rested, still in the middle of time, and the gods still played with the worlds. The moon regarded, and the bright one sought, and returned again to his seeking. Then Kib grew weary of the first game of the gods, and raised his hand in Pegana, making the sign of Kib, and earth became covered with beasts for Kib to play with. And Kib played with beasts. But the other gods said to one another, speaking with their hands, what is it that Kib has done? And they said to Kib, what are these things that move upon the earth, yet move not in circles like the worlds, that regard like the moon, and yet they do not shine? And Kib said, this is life. But the gods said one to another, if Kib has thus made beasts, he will in time make men, and will endanger the secret of the gods. And Mung was jealous at the work of Kib, and sent down death amongst the beasts, but could not stamp them out. 1,000,000 years passed over the second game of the gods, and still it was the middle of time. And Kib grew weary of the second game, and raised his hand in the middle of all, making the sign of Kib, and made men. Out of the beasts he made them, and earth was covered with men. Then the gods feared greatly for the secret of the gods, and set a veil between man and his ignorance, that he might not understand. And Mung was busy amongst men. But when the other gods saw Kib playing his new game, they came and played it too. And this they will play until Mana arise to rebuke them, saying, "What do you playing with worlds and suns and men and life and death?" And they shall be ashamed of their playing in the hour of the laughter of Mana-Yud Sushai. It was Kib who first broke the silence of Pegana by speaking with his mouth like a man. And all the other gods were angry with Kib that he had spoken with his mouth. And there was no longer silence in Pegana or the worlds. The chant of the gods. There came the voice of the gods singing the chant of the gods, singing, "We are the gods. We are the little games of Mana-Yud Sushai that he hath played and hath forgotten. Mana-Yud Sushai hath made us, and we made the worlds and the suns. And we play with the worlds and the suns and life and death, until Mana arise to rebuke us, saying, "What do ye playing with worlds and suns?" It is a very serious thing that there be worlds and suns, and yet most withering is the laughter of Mana-Yud Sushai. And when he arises from resting at the last, and laughs at us for playing with worlds and suns, we will hastily put them behind us, and there shall be worlds no more.